This is how you play Look, aka Song for Children by Brian Wilson. Before we begin, let's take a look at the structure of the song and some of the rhythms and patterns we are going to encounter. The song starts off with a unique introduction piece before heading into a verse. The verse then transitions into a chorus, and then the chorus transitions into a bridge section. The bridge section then transitions directly into a verse, and the verse then is followed by another chorus, then another verse, and then finally the song ends on an ending section, which is actually a variation of the chorus. So in the original 1966 version, this outro section, this ending section, really did not exist. The song ended on a chorus again, and it just faded out. But for the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version, this ending section is actually a variation of the chorus. As far as rhythms and patterns go, this song contains a good amount of different patterns and rhythms that you're going to encounter. So some of the patterns are pretty similar to Wonderful. So for example, this is the first chord of the song, and notice it's the same as Wonderful basically. Starting off with a note in the left hand and then transitioning into a broken chord in the right hand. So the intro has that rhythm, and so does the bridge section. The verses actually are pretty much just played all at once. And that is to say, you're just hitting the right hand and the left hand stuff at the exact same time. Just like that. The choruses, your right hand is going to be hitting full chords, while your left hand is playing a sequence of bass notes. Just like that. Starting off with the introduction piece, here we are on the keyboard. This is the middle C. The first chord of the intro. So as I mentioned earlier, it's pretty much the same rhythmic pattern that Wonderful has, which is part of the reason why Wonderful directly segues into Song for Children on the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version of Smile. The only difference really here is this bass note, because this is actually one of the ending chords to Wonderful. So if you ever wondered why does that segue work, that's why. And these are the bass notes usually to the ending of Wonderful. Okay, so you're gonna play this twice, but when you reach this E flat in your right hand the second time around, for the second instance of playing the chord, that's when you're gonna hit the G flat again in your left hand, and then immediately hit the F note. And the F note's gonna start off the second chord of this introduction section. So once again from the top of this section. Okay, second chord in the right hand, D, F, B flat. So similar to what I explained before, when you get to that second instance of playing this D, you hit the F again, and then you go down to an E. And the E starts the next chord. So the next chord is D flat, E, B flat. So once again from the top we have okay. So when you hit the E flat, that triggers the final chord in the right hand. That final chord is D flat, G, B flat. And you're gonna play this twice, and basically every time you would have to hit a bass note going off of the pattern that immediately precedes it, you're just gonna repeat this, hitting the E flat. Once again from the top we have okay. When you hit this D flat the second time for the second instance of playing this chord, you're actually going to then immediately, when you hit that D flat, hit the F and then the G flat. And that's going to start the cycle again from the beginning. You're going to play this cycle basically 2 times in total. So once again from the top we have the only difference being that when you hit this first chord again, unlike the first time where you just hit it once like this, instead you're going to hit this twice in the same rhythmic pattern as all the chords preceding it, except for the first time you hit this, these 2 chords. So it'll be like that the second time around, really with the F at the beginning. So all together it will sound like this. Just like that. That is the introduction section. Next, let's get into the verses. The first chord in the verses is this chord. In the left hand, we're playing E's, these low E's. In the right hand, we are playing A flat, B, E flat, and then A flat again. And you're gonna strike this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Next chord, left hand, we're gonna play these B flats in the left hand, doubled up. And your right hand, you're playing the A flats still in the right hand, but you're gonna shift the middle 2 notes from what they were before. They were these 2 notes. They were B and E flat. We're gonna shift them over to being D flat and F. You're only gonna play that 4 times though. So once again from the top. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the next chord. Left hand, we're playing this E flat. We're not doubling it up. We're just playing this single one. And in the right hand, we have B flat, D flat, E flat, and then G. And we're playing this 4 times. So once again, from the top of the verses, we have next chord. Left hand, we're playing doubled up A flats. And in the right hand, we're playing pretty much the same chord as the first chord in the verses, but we're not gonna play a B, we're gonna play a C instead. So that's the only difference, is your finger shifts up to the C. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times in total. Then back to the first chord, and this will repeat. So you're playing this 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So one of the things you can do is, instead of playing this like straight up and down, when you get to the 4th beat of doing this, you can kind of mimic the instrumental fills that happen during the verses by kind of playing kind of off beats between the left hand and the right hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, da, 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 just like that. And that will give kind of an illusion of those instrumental fills that occur in the track itself. And then back to this, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the ending chord to the verses once you get to this point. Okay, so next I'm going to get into the chorus of the song. Your right hand is going to be playing 2 chords throughout. First chord is A flat, C, E flat, 5, 6, 7, 8. Play that 8 times. The second chord after that is G, B flat, D flat. Play this 4 times. And then back to this chord 4 times. And then you're going to repeat this section again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. In your left hand, when you start this sequence, so we're going to go back to the beginning here. Your left hand is going to play this. A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, E flat, C. When you get to the C, that's when you're going to shift over to this chord in your right hand. So it's got to be timed correctly, of course. So it will sound like this all together. So when you're hitting this 4 times, the next notes that you're going to hit are E flat, D flat, B flat. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So roughly when you get to 4, that's when you're going to hit the D flat again, then the C, and then end on this A flat. And when you get to that A flat, that's roughly when you transition back into this first chord. So all together it will sound like this. Just like that. And to repeat it, you're going to hit this low E flat here, and then go back into this cycle, basically. So all together, the choruses will sound like this. That's the chorus. Next, the bridge. After you play the chorus for the first time, we're going to get into this unique bridge section. The pattern, the rhythmic pattern, is going to go back to basically the rhythmic pattern that we were playing for the intro. It's not exactly the same because we're not playing a bass note every time we go back to this note in the in the right hand a second time. So it's more like just standard what's happening with Wonderful, what's happening with the first 2 chords of this song, Song for Children. But the first chord, first off, in the left hand, we're going to have these doubled up C notes. And in the right hand, we're going to have a C, E flat, G, B flat. Play this twice. So I'll play that again, but you play this essentially just twice. This 1, 2, and then you go into the next chord. You're going to move your left hand down and play these double up B flats. And in the right hand, the the chord is B flat, D, G, B flat. Okay, and then in the left hand, you're gonna play these D flats. In the right hand, we're playing B flat, E flat, G, B flat. Oops, excuse me. Start from the top here. Okay, so for the final chord of this sequence, we're going to play these doubled up C's again. And in the right hand, we're going to play C, E flat, A flat. So here's what we have so far, starting from the beginning. You're going to play this twice, and then what's going to happen is you're basically going to repeat this whole sequence again. But before you do, rather than just straight up going into the sequence again, your left hand's going to have to make this little rapid 1, 2, 3. I don't know what you call this technically, 1, 2. But you're going to have to basically play this, and then transition back into that first chord. So transitioning from this back into this. So essentially dropping whatever finger you use to hit the A flat down to the G and adding the top B flat again to create the first chord from the bridge section. So 2. So you're gonna play this again, but once. The second time you play it, you're gonna speed this up a little bit in the right hand, what you play, this chord. So from the time that we get back down here, then you're gonna play it a third time, but instead of the doubled up C's in the left hand, you're gonna play B flats. And this is how we end it. 2 instances of playing this chord, A flats in the left hand, and this is actually one of the chords from the verses, which that's really what we're doing here, is we're directly segueing the bridge section back into the verses. So that's actually what's happening here. So when you get to these A flats, that's when you hit the corresponding chord for those A flats, which is A flat, C, E flat, A flat. And you play that twice. So altogether, this is what the bridge will sound like. Just like that. And then you're going to go back into the verses. There's one small difference with the verses this time around. And that is, there's a little bit of an instrumental fill that occurs in a different chord than before. So it still occurs in that same kind of chord, that same place in this verse sequence, but there's an extra one too. So but notice when you segue back into the verses, the pattern for the bridge is still this. But then you're going to play the first chord of the bridge, of the verses again, just like you did before. So these E flats, along with this chord, which is the same chord as before, but again, we're dropping that finger down to a B. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is actually where the extra instrumental fill takes place. So let me just do this again from the top because I did mess up a little bit there. I apologize. Sorry. That extra instrumental fill comes in. So again, once you get to the fourth time, you can play kind of offbeat there. I'm not really, it wasn't quite right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like that, really. You don't want to do like this. You want to do where you're maintaining that beat. It's just an offbeat here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Back down here for the second instance of this, and you're going to keep that instrumental fill here. Just like that. And this is the only instance of the verses where that kind of extra instrumental fill happens. So it's just for this only. There's going to be a third time that we play the verses, and that little instrumental fill for this section does not occur the third time either. It only happens the second time. But this one happens on pretty much all of them. Oops, excuse me. All of them. Well, you get the idea. And then we're going to go back into the chorus. Into the verses for the final time. Six, seven, eight. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and once you play the verses for the third time, then we get to the ending of the song. Okay, the ending for the song. As I mentioned earlier, the ending to the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version is a variation on the chorus, and it starts off pretty much exactly like the chorus. But that's the only point you're going to play up to when you get to here. So there's no transfer into the second chord, it just ends here. When you get to this point, then you're going to play the second chord and second bass note sequence, which this time it's going to be a new one. So once again from the top, we have this. This is the chord in the right hand for the second part of the ending portion. This is B flat, D, F. So the bass notes are B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, D. And you're playing the chord in the right hand 8 times in total. So again, from the top we have after that, we're going to go back to the first chord and first bass sequence from the normal chorus and play that again. 8 times, just like before. And then the song will end like this. In your right hand, you're going to play G flat, B flat, D flat, and the bass notes are actually... So it's the black keys here, G flat, A flat, B flat, and then you're gonna hit a B, and then the D flat. And this you're only gonna play, in the right hand, you're only gonna play this about 4 times, or 4 times exactly, excuse me. you're just gonna end just like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, well, basically a fifth time here. And to get this effect, don't hold down the sustain pedal, obviously. Take your foot off of it to get that effect. And that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was useful. If you are interested in more content like this, please feel free to subscribe and give this video a like. It helps me out. I do piano tutorials of Beach Boys songs pretty frequently, and you can expect more of these in the future. Thanks so much. Peace.